Step foot into any home center, lumber yard, or hardwood dealer and you'll be absolutely overwhelmed with the amount of different woods available. From common pine and maple to a more exotic purple wood from Africa. I remember when I first got started with the hobby of woodworking, I thought it was going to be as simple as walking into the store and picking out whatever wood I thought looked best. However, it's not that simple because wood can be categorized into 100 different groups, but generally speaking, it's categorized into 3. The first being hardwoods, the second being softwoods, and finally we have manufactured boards. Now to start with hardwoods, the name implies that they are harder than any other wood, which generally speaking is true, but it actually comes from the type of tree it's milled from. Hardwoods specifically come from a deciduous tree, which is a tree that loses its leaves every year. Now hardwoods are typically used in places that require a lot of stability and structure. So you've heard of the term hardwood floors, and the reason hardwood is often used for floors is because it can last a lifetime if it's treated properly. Now, an issue you have with hardwood is that it's very expensive. A typical hardwood board can run anywhere from $60 to $100 depending on its length. Another issue is that hardwood is extremely hard on your tools. So if you're constantly running it through your saw blades, they're going to have to be replaced a lot more often. So for example, one of the projects I recently did was cutting out these little circles from a board of walnut, and the issue I ran into with this was that it was extremely taxing on my body. It felt like I had been at the gym all day after finishing up 9 of these holes, which when you look at it is pretty simple, and it really is, but it's very difficult wood to work with. Now the next wood I'd like to talk about is softwoods. And unlike hardwoods would come from a deciduous tree, softwoods come from coniferous trees. So trees that don't shed their leaves every year and are typically trees that have needles instead of leaves. Now softwoods are extremely common. It's going to be the most common type of wood that you're going to find. And the reason for that is that they're used in hundreds of thousands of different applications. And most commonly they're used as a building material. So houses and apartments, typically their frames are made of cedar, which is a very common soft wood. But they can also be used for expensive projects if you treat it properly and maintain the look of it. Now the main issue that you have with softwoods is obviously it's not as strong as a hardwood. It's going to take damage more easily. So for example, I have a piece of pine here, and just the simple act of dragging my nail across the wood will leave a permanent mark in it that you don't get with a hardwood. This can easily be solved by putting a top coat on the wood, but again, it's something that you have to look for when you're choosing woods. And the last category I'd like to talk about is manufactured wood. And while this category can be split into hundreds of different categories, the main piece of wood you're going to find in this category is plywood. And the nice thing about plywood is that it's made with these layers that you see here. And what these layers do is they actually give it incredible stability. So while it seems like it wouldn't be a very strong piece of wood, it's actually one of the strongest. And it's very versatile. It can be used underneath hardwood to save you costs but still have the same stability as hardwood, and it can also be used for cheap projects around the house or hobby type projects. Now the issue that you have with manufactured wood is that the appearance is not very good. Obviously you have these layers here showing that you're going to want to cover up if you're going to leave it out in the open. Now this only scratches the surface of the world of wood, but I hope that with this information that I've given you about softwoods, hardwoods, and manufacturer's wood, you feel confident enough to go into the store and pick out your wood for your next woodworking project. Thank you.